We're going to take it one day at and one game at a time. We're not going to talk about the playoffs, but the Jaguars have a big one this week at Dallas. I'll preview it and tell you how they can win it. Just a second here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for joining us here on Locked On Jaguars. Jaguar fans, I am Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast. We're at your team every day, and we thank you for making us your first listen. Reminding you that we are free on all platforms, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe, even on YouTube and everywhere else you get your platforms. We are free. You never have to pay for it. Also, I must let you know that today's episode is sponsored by SimpliSafe Home Security with fast protect technology exclusively from SimpliSafe 24/7 monitoring agents. Capture evidence to accurately verify a threat or faster police response. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Visit simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl to learn more. What's going on, good people? Hopefully you guys are having a good day, a good afternoon. We still celebrate a little bit of Victory Monday here on Locked On Jaguars, but even though we're a little bit past Victory Monday at this point, the bottom line is I know the city is still extremely happy with the victory that they had Monday on for beating the Tennessee Titans, the hated Tennessee Titans. Folks are still celebrating. By the way, the Titans fans are still upset. Anywho, we don't care about them. We're just going to get to the point that we did have a chance to go to press conference yesterday with Doug Pederson. I expected Doug to come in doing cartwheels, man. I really did. I thought Doug Pederson was going to come in doing cartwheels, going, handstands and turning around and break dancing. But I was pleasantly surprised by his demeanor that none of those things happened. What did happen is he just technically, in a very technical sense, broke down what happened in the game, what he thought was the difference between this game and last week's game and the loss against Detroit. How, as paraphrasing and not quoting him, how it's all a bit of a learning process at this point for this team to be able to develop the sort of confidence that you can get from understanding yourself. And what that means is playing for each other, understanding preparation, knowing that every little thing counts, not getting down on each other, not getting down on yourself. I think Doug senses that this team has a high sense of self-belief. Something else that happened yesterday, my friend Gene Fournette asked him about the P word, which is playoffs, and Doug refused to go there. He said, nope, can't do it. He said, obviously, as a coach, you do map out things and talk about possibilities, but the only way you can basically get to that is to win one game at a time. So we won't look at a big picture. What we're going to do is focus on this week's game. And I'm going to point out a few things about this Dallas game that I am confident about and things that have to happen. One, in the first segment, the return of Cisco and how it can help the Jags create more turnovers. Turnovers like the ones that they got the other day. They were very opportunistic when they got the ball put back in their hands and scoring 20 points off of those 4 turnovers. That was huge in my opinion. And, well, not even in my opinion, it ended up being huge because that was the difference in the game. Segment 2, we'll talk about the big thing they have to do. Believe it or not, it's not even about a starter. It's stopping Tony Pollard. He's critical for a certain reason, and I'm going to tell you why. It might be obvious to some people, but there's something that he does that I think the Jaguars need to make sure that they can stay away from. And then getting in segment 3, getting the ball out of Trevor's hands with that Dallas pass rush and how that can have a ripple effect on what happens on the back end against the Cowboys secondary. So we're going to touch on all of that. But first, we're going to talk about Cisco. Hopefully he gets back this week, even though Dewey Wingard and that crew played really, really well last year. And they got contributions last week. They got contributions from everyone. Wingard actually had a game that he could have easily gotten a game ball if Trevor Lawrence, I don't know if he didn't, but he could have gotten player of the game had Trevor Lawrence probably, not scored as much as he did and played as efficiently as he did. But Andre Cisco adds another element to this team in terms of coverage, in terms of protecting real estate in a deep middle of the field. I'm a firm believer if they get him back, it creates an extra advantage that they're going to simply need against the Cowboys because of some things that the Dallas Cowboys love to do with CeeDee Lamb, as well as Dalton Schultz, their tight end. So let's not stop the turnover train while we got it moving. There are teams that I know we can say, Wig, don't be greedy. We just got 4 this week, but there are teams that sort of make a living off of being able to just be a team that creates turnovers all the time. Dallas is one of them. The team that they'll play is one of those teams. And sometimes teams can get that thing rolling to a point where they have a tendency to sometimes now not just get those turnovers, but to expect that those turnovers will occur. So I just think it's just something that we just have to sort of watch out for and be cognizant of that. Let's get used to getting those extra opportunities. You should be ball hawks. Don't be passive. We've seen early this year how they sat back and allowed, was it Indy? Indy just chopped them up and continued to complete short crosser after short crosser and drag route after drag route. And it's like nobody was around anybody until they caught the ball, and then they just tackled them and gave up the first down. I like how they jumped balls the other day, and I like how they went for strip sacks and how guys were in the lanes and they were in places where normally they wouldn't be. So you can get used to that, and it can be contagious. It starts with physicality, but it starts first with being where you're supposed to be every single time and getting there with the intent of being a hard hitter. And that's what Cisco has done. He plays with intent. He plays with passion. He plays hard. He's fast. He gets there right at the time he needs to get there, and he knocks the ball. He really punishes people for real estate. Might have something to do with why he's banged up too, but I really do hope that he is able to go and that there's all hands on deck when they play the Cowboys this weekend. We're going to talk a couple of other things, a couple of tidbits. I'm chomping at the bit, man, to talk about the playoff scenario, but I just won't do it. I'm going to take a cue from the coach, and we're going to take it one day at a time. And if they win this, I'll tell you what, if they win this week, I don't know, man. Might have to go back on that a little bit and start talking about use the P word, start talking about playoff scenarios, because I think they'll have a good chance down the stretch. But right now, one day at a time, we're going to talk about Tony Pollard and his possible impact on this week and what the Jags have to do to stop him and why it's critical that they do that. And I'll do all of that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. After I let you know that today's show is sponsored by BetOnline.net. It is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional amateur league out there, from pro football to college bowl season to basketball and World Cup. We've got it all at betonline.net. Speaking of net, watch out for those New Jersey Nets. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games, and Ben Simmons seems like he's turning the corner. If you love sports podcasts, you can even find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get you betting info. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more, because BetOnline is where the game starts. You guys start here with us every single day on Locked On Jaguars, and we are eternally grateful that you make us your first listen. You can make your second listen. The Locked On Sports Today show, from the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Tony Pollard. This is not slam Zeke session here. This is not me doing what everybody else does. Zeke's washed. He needs to be sitting down, and Zeke's playing fine, man. It's just that Tony Pollard brings a different element and a different suddenness to Dallas's offense. And I think stopping him, and I know it's Captain Obvious that, okay, we got to stop Tony Pollard. The dude had a touchdown reception and a run last week, and he's a home run hitter. Bingo. the last thing that you said is why I think it's very critical that the Jaguars put a stop to Tony Pollard. Because one thing anybody hates, especially this team, is people who can score quickly. That element kind of wrecks the whole game plan and the whole quote unquote way the Jacksonville Jaguars are able to be successful when they are successful. You don't want teams scoring quickly. That's a dagger for you, man. And I'm not saying that you also would want or accept a team going on a 11 play 90-yard drive and taking off 8 minutes off the clock either, and keeping your defense on the field. But the thing that you want to do is hang in there and give yourself a chance to not get behind early or quickly. And teams that can score quickly and get chunk points really, really fast, that's a bad omen for a team that's trying to play the game a certain way. You want to kind of strike a balance. Now, you want them to go 3 and out, but the thing is you want them to do it without points. Tony Pollard gives that big play element to this team. It's also a thing that could kill momentum. And if the Jaguar, if it's anything like I think it's going to be wild in that stadium this weekend. And you want as much momentum, and you want to be, I want these young players to feel and fuel off of the energy of the stadium. There's nothing that zaps out energy faster than someone scoring quickly. Also, if he's not successful in the running game and Zeke isn't getting loose in the running game, and I'm not a bash Dak Prescott guy, but I want Dak Prescott trying to throw the ball 40 times a game. And it's not because I don't think he's a good player or a good passer, but the more Dak Prescott has to throw probably means the Jaguars are winning or still involved in the game. And two, it creates opportunities where you can get after him a little bit. Dak will hold on to the ball now and try to wait till the last minute to get something off. And I think it allows the Jaguars a chance to get some sacks and put them in long down and distance situations or in drives. Quite frankly, if you don't have the dump off to a guy getting 8, 9, 10 yards out of the backfield like Tony Pollard's capable of or more, and the draw game isn't working and the run game up the middle isn't working and they're not chiming out yards on the ground, and it puts the ball in Dak Prescott's hands, that's more opportunities for the Jaguars to make plays in the passing game on defense, as well as to get after the quarterback and pin their ears back a little bit and take advantage of some of the momentum they had last week of rushing the passer. So Tony Pollard was number one for me coming into this game, who needs to be stopped by Jacksonville because of that big play ability and because we're really trying to focus on keeping the ball in Dak Prescott's hands, keeping them in the down and distance situations that are long down and distance situations where it gives you a chance. It might Caldwell a chance to sort of mix and match a little bit and come after the Cowboys. And I just think that the scenario for them winning, in my opinion, has Tony Pollard not being effective. He's the one guy, if you ask me, who got, well, Michael Parsons also, but I mean, offensively, you gotta stop Tony Pollard. Michael Parsons is a big deal too. He's one of the 5 best players in the NFL, in my opinion. He's a handful too. So that's going to lead us and segue into segment 3 of why I think it's critical to get the ball out of Trevor's hands and how that can have a ripple effect on the entire game plan. We're going to look at that a little bit too here on Locked On Jaguars. After, once again, I let you know to check out Locked On Sports Today with my man Peter Bukowski. Make it your second listen. Games that matter. The Jaguars will be one of the games that matter this weekend. The most, one of the biggest stories in sports would be if they can get Dallas to act like they were sleepwalking again, like Dallas was last week against Houston. Go beyond the scoreboard, behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Also, I have to let you know that today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks, our friends at PrizePicks. I know you got your PrizePicks in, had them in for this past weekend. If you had Trevor Lawrence going for more than 300 yards, or if you favored him as a guy who was going to put up more numbers than PrizePicks projected him to, then guess what? You got paid as long as you could manage to put that with some of the other entries that PrizePicks offer you. Because that's what you have to do. You got to go to prizepicks.com or download the app and check out their daily fantasy entries and their player projections. And then you decide whether it's more or less than it's going to be. If you do that, pick at least 2 up to 5 different players, you can win 10 times your money on any entry. Now, you have to download the app, or like I said, go to prizepicks.com and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. I'll say that again. The promo code is Locked On your initial sign up. If you deposit 100, PrizePicks will give you 100. If you deposit 50, PrizePicks will give you 50. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match of up to $100. Glad you guys make me your first listen here every day on Locked On Jaguars as we hold ourselves down and tie ourselves down a little bit so we don't start looking too big and talking about the playoff scenarios that possibly exist for the Jaguars. We're taking a page out of Doug Pederson where it's one game at a time. So we're doing a little game preview and talking about the things that have to go well for the Jaguars this week. I was hoping in segment 1, I told you guys I hope that the return of Cisco happens because it creates more suddenness and more turnovers. And they're going to need anything and everything in the entire kitchen sink against the Dallas Cowboys' explosive offense. How segment 2, we talked about stopping Tony Pollard, how critical that is because of his ability to make big plays in the running game and the passing game. And if you can eliminate him making big plays, it puts more pressure on Dak Prescott. And the more pressure you put on Dak Prescott to perform, the more he has to handle the ball. And that means that you can get really exotic and mix it up a little bit on defense and take advantage of your pass rush momentum that you had last week or your ability to turn the ball over. The easiest way to turn the ball over is to force a team to throw it. Now, we have to make sure that we don't become who the Titans were last week and who the Jaguars seemingly was 2 weeks ago against Detroit when they fumbled the ball a few times when they shouldn't have. Trevor hasn't thrown an interception in a while, so I wouldn't be so much concerned about that. But getting the ball out of Trevor's hand quickly can have a ripple effect on the game planning outcome. First of all, you want to make sure that Micah Parsons doesn't dominate this game and control this game, and he'll do that if you get stuck back there in la-la land passing the ball because they have a really, really good pass rush, not only by him but by guys like DeMarcus Lawrence and this kid out of Kansas State from a couple of years ago that's so good now. Torrance is really, really a good player. They can really put their hand down and get after you, Sam Williams and guys like that. So they have a number of people, and they do a lot of twists and a lot of stunts, and they're quick. They're cat quick on that defensive line. So these are the things that you really, really have to watch out for when you play the Dallas Cowboys. The Jaguars have done a real good job of getting the ball out of Trevor's hand, though. A lot of quick outs, a lot of slants, a lot of stuff in the flat lately to Evan Ingram and Zay Jones. They've done a really, really good job, even with the screen passes to the running backs. They've used wheel routes. Remember, Jermichael Hasty had a touchdown on a wheel route not too long ago. So they've gotten creative. Against the Lions, Trevor got in a little bit of trouble, and he ended up getting banged up a little bit, and it looked like a nasty injury. So, those teams that can really, really rush the passer and twist up front and get out, you have to be able to get the ball out of Trevor's hands real quick. Now, here's the ripple effect I talked about. Trayvon Diggs loves to jump routes. If you start getting the ball out of your hand real quick, eventually he's going to start jumping. And when he starts jumping, that's when you need to start pumping. Pump fake, get a guy loose down the sideline with a double move. We've seen him, guys like him and Peters from Baltimore, where they really, really do fall for those initial moves a lot. That's the ripple effect. If you could somehow come up with some sort of max protect and act like you're going to throw another quick out pass and have Trevor just pump fake or look off, I think you can hit some big things down the field. I think that's critical that they do that, but that's the ripple effect that I'm talking about. And then if you keep throwing it short, eventually Dallas will get uber aggressive, and then you can hit it with the running game and maybe hit them with something in the screen game or catch a tight end down the field, down the seam. It's going to come down to just big plays at critical moments in the game, and all of those things are set up by what you see and what you do. Now, Doug got into a bit of a rhythm the other day, Doug Pederson as a play caller, and he was asked, was it something that he saw on tape? And then he sort of, I thought that's what it was. And even on the announcers on the game said, well, they're going to the tight end because the tight end, and they hadn't gone to Evan Ingram that much. And they said that, well, the Titans don't guard the tight end very well. So obviously it was a game plan. Doug kind of went like, nah, we just went with what was working at the time. So kudos for him for saying that. But I just think Doug needs to be able to get into a rhythm in the game. And once he gets to a rhythm of the game, he gets rolling, man, and everything starts working. We also found out that Trevor, on the touchdown run that he had, Trevor kept the ball. And I asked Doug Pederson, I said, is it okay as long as it works? He said, we don't want to make a habit of that. It was supposed to be a handoff to ETN. It was not supposed to be a read. And Doug said he kind of looked at him funny, and Trevor was like, hey, he was like, all right, okay, whatever, I got you. He said, because even though they scored, Doug was on the sideline, and him and the coaches were looking at each other like, well, what was that? And he doesn't want to make a habit of it. You want to do exactly what is called on the field, but there's a little bit of amount of playful trust there with those two. Like, okay, it worked and it was okay, but yeah, Trevor did something that he had a gut feeling about. And I know it's going to be a lot of people to hit me up and go, well, that's good that he has that. But no, it ain't good. I saw the coach's face yesterday. It was like, no, run the play, run what we call now, because they have plays where they have a read. Okay, Trevor, you take a look in this read. That was not one of them. And Trevor just did it on his own. Like, I mean, they don't have a problem or anything, but for all of those people that are about to tell me, hey, it worked or whatever, I'm just giving you the information based on what was said at the press conference. And Doug wasn't angry. He kind of smiled a little bit, but he kind of said, no, this is, this is what we do. We have instances where we want you to read and make the proper read. That wasn't one of them. So it'll be interesting moving forward to see how that goes. But as it goes, this is about my time. I'm going to let you guys know to tune in to Locked On Jaguars. Me and my man Mosier, man. Oh man, this is going to be absolutely fun. We're going to record a Marcus Mosier. We're going to record a crossover show just like we do every single week. Marcus Mosier is outstanding at what he does covering the Dallas Cowboys, and we're going to have a little fun. We're going to have a little fun talking about this game this week. We'll find out if he's coming to the game or not. I'll be interested to see. I know there are going to be some Cowboy fans. So here's my my public call to you guys, because I've seen a lot of this on social media as well. Keep your tickets, man. Sell them to Jaguar fans. Don't let those Cowboys come in here with those ugly jerseys on in our stadium this weekend. That's my public service announcement. I know it ain't going to do no good because you're going to sell them to the highest bidder anyway, but just thought I'd try to do something for the fan base. You guys take care of each other, and we'll see you next time here on Locked On Jaguars.